Alrighty, let me just angle this a little bit. Ooh. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just leaning to the left so you can see my drawing. I have everything established. I've done about 3 rounds, about 3 phases on this side here. I've done about 2 here, and I need 1 more here, so I'm gonna work on that for a little bit. I have some work to do here. I have to finish the sock here. There's a sock over there, just a portion of it I have to work out, and then I have to kind of finish this section here. Once I'm finished that, then I'm just gonna go in and do some tightening up. So this is basically the last and final stage, is tightening things up and also just perfecting or cleaning up the rest of your drawing. I'm happy with the area here. I can still go in and make some adjustments, but some of it seems pretty complete to me. I've been talking about using this white charcoal pencil and going in and pulling out some highlights and things like that. I'm gonna refrain from doing that. I'm just gonna keep this charcoal and the white of the paper. 2 reasons. One reason is that it's gonna be a whole nother stage. Stage 5 would be using a white pencil. And it would prolong the project. And the second reason is I think it works just fine the way it is. So I don't feel it needs that extra pop. I think there's enough clarity of the edges and all that stuff. So I'm just gonna leave it as is. But for now, I'm just going to put it on time lapse and go as quickly, or just finish the drawing, and you can watch me work super fast. And again, just to reiterate, there are some areas that are complete, but not fully complete. So after I finish this and bring it up to the same level of that, then I'm gonna go back in and just kind of hit everything once. And that's just a once over, a final fine tune. Doesn't take as long. You're just kind of bouncing around, perfecting things. You can go over here or there, because you're not drawing anything. You're just kind of cleaning up some edges or fading things out or resolving areas that just don't seem fully resolved. And another thing I can't stress enough is walk away from your drawing about 10, 20 feet and step away from it, look at it from a distance and see what it looks like. Up close, it just looks like a bunch of shapes and you don't know what's what. From a distance is when it's going to start to look like what it's supposed to look like. Another method to do is photograph your work and then look at it in your phone, because it's so small, so it's as if you're stepping 20 feet away. All right, so I'm gonna work, and then when I start doing that last and final kind of clean up, I'll talk about it, and that's it. All right, so what I did yesterday is I'm just gonna pull out of the way here. I completed over here. I worked in here. Completed meaning that I brought it almost to completion, but I still can go in and tighten things up. What I haven't done is I didn't finish that sock yet, and that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna draw this sock in. All those stripes I have to figure out. Some of the stripes are the same value as the brown, so I'm gonna have to lie and say some are either lighter or darker so you can see the edge, otherwise it's just gonna blend in and you won't even tell it's there. So I have to get that kind of shape of the sock and the values within, and like if you just look at the pink part right there, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a couple little value shifts because it shows these wrinkles. So it becomes dark light, dark light, dark light. So I have to make sure I apply some of that. Once I get that set, then I can start to work on this thing. This is the black t-shirt that's at the very bottom, which was by design. So I can show the white table and the shadows underneath there on the white table. There's something over here, I think it was right here. There's this little negative space of white that I took out yesterday, but then when I walked away from my drawing, I took a look at it and I don't know if I liked the composition. So then I just lied and I filled it back in because I like how it's cropped off here, it's cropped off here, and then it's cropped off there. And I think that white shape took away from that. It brought too much attention to it, so I filled it in with black. I might go and make it a mid-tone. I'm not sure yet, but for right now, I'm just gonna keep it filled in. And then once I finish the sock, it's gonna allow me to really focus on that dark shape underneath the sock. I don't wanna do that first and put the sock in after the fact. The sock is next to the areas I just completed, so I can kind of work my way down. It takes a while. Once I get this done, then I can just kind of go over here and finish this. And then again, at the very, very end, I'll just do like a once over, clean things up, tighten areas that I just don't feel are fully resolved. And that's it, I'm done. Just a couple things I wanted to mention, and you probably know this by now already, but after about 2 hours of working, I'm spent, I'm done. My brain's tired and I want to do something else. And then I come back to it the next day and refresh and reboot it. I think I mentioned this in other videos. So don't try to pull a 8-hour shift and crank this out. You're not gonna enjoy it. It's not gonna be good. Just do it in bits and pieces of time. And also when you come back to it, you'll notice it's like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was. When you're working on it, you're working up close and you're just not getting every shape perfect and every transition perfect. And then you come back to it the next day and you look at it, you're like, oh, that's better. So what I'm gonna do now is just do time lapse, and I'm gonna finish this area and hopefully get to this area here. And that's it. See you later. All right, so one of the things I starting to like about the drawing before I forget to say it is it kind of appears like a landscape. It almost feels like a foreground, middle background, and mountains, kind of hills and valleys going back in space, like a peaceful landscape. That's one thing I really like about the drawing. But to come back to the drawing itself, I'm starting to finish up. I've kind of completed, or 90% completed the area here, and then I'm just going to finish up in this region here. Just haven't gotten to that sock or putting any of those shapes in there yet, and I just want to smooth some of this out. I think there was something I wanted to do in there, but at the very end, at the final part of the project, is what you're going to do is when you finish that part, or when I finish that part, then you just reassess everything. You just kind of look in areas and be like, you know what, this seems unresolved. I'm just going to spend 10 minutes there smoothing things out and just making sure my eye doesn't get stuck in that spot. And I'm going to tell you what isn't resolved in my drawing. This area seems just a little bit treated differently than the other areas, so I think I'm going to try to maybe smooth that out and clarify. It gets a little spotty. Some things I like about it, but at the moment. I think I'll just smooth it out. This area here, I just like this little twist and turn. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna go too far into detail with that. There's more stuff in there, but I'm gonna move on. I'm just gonna try to clarify this. I had to, and I said this at the beginning, there's gonna be times where you're gonna have to stretch the truth a little bit, because every single fold you might not be able to perfectly locate. So in some areas you might have to stretch the truth, meaning that a shape might have to be a little bigger than you expected it to be. That's fine, you just have to get creative with. I had to do that down here, and I think I fooled the viewer enough to where they wouldn't get question that. Plus it's folds of fabric, so you can kind of fake it in some areas. Not all, because it won't look right. And then I'm going to finish here. I think here needs to be tweaked. And I was thinking of making the clarifying the letters just a little bit more. The last two letters look to be good, but I may or may not get to that. There's something I like about where it is right now. The other thing I like about the drawing is that it's oddly cropped. It's cropped here, it's cropped here, it's cropped here. It just seems so awkward, like the laundry pile itself. So there's something that matches both. It's not this perfect thing, and this is not this perfect thing. And then you start to kind of just look at the folds of the laundry itself and appreciate that. So almost there on the final lap, and it is a lot to do, especially when you're just really focusing on these folds. I get it, I know it. It takes time. But in the end, when you peel off this yellow tape, it's just really nice. It's beautiful, and you should be proud of what you've done. All right, I will start my time lapse and then talk to you one more time. Okay, so we are finally finished. I'm excited because it's over with, but I'm sure you feel the same way once you hit this stage. So just a couple things I want to bring to your attention. Usually when my students finish a project and they just want to abort mission because they're sick of it, and I understand that, but there's a few things you want to take care of before you end it. You want to make sure that your edges are resolved. For example, when I was erasing this out, it's kind of nice that some of this is dark down here, and I made it as light as I possibly could here to create some shadows underneath from the fabric there. And I just kind of faded it out to whatever value was there, and I used my kneaded eraser to lighten that as much as I could, and I'm fine with that. I kind of like that look. I think that adds some variety to the tabletop, and when I peel this off, it's gonna have a nice crisp edge of like maybe number 4 value compared to the white of the paper, which will be nice because it'll help to frame it. Up here, I'm fine with that. Here, it's a little on the dark side, so I think I might lighten it up a little bit, but not to an extreme here. I just don't want it too even. I want some variety, but I want you to think about the backspace and if there's any shadows or anything like that. And then at the very, very end, if you want to just do a once over and look through and look for areas that are just kind of blurry or edges are a little bit misunderstood. You don't know if something begins or something ends. You want to go in there and clarify it. You can just grab your, like, there's an area space here that the sock and the sweatshirt behind it, I didn't have a clean edge. So I just got my pencil there and I just kind of made a quick line. You can't even see it, but at least it cleaned up that edge. I didn't have to go back in and rework stuff. So that's kind of, and there's some other areas that I probably forgot about when I was working. I'm just gonna lighten this a little bit here. I forgot about that spot. But other than that, I tried to go back in and rework some stuff, and it just felt like I was making it worse than improving it. So I just left it as is, but there's some areas that you definitely can increase and improve. But I'm happy with this. This to me is complete, it's finished. And yes, you can take the white charcoal pencil and go crazy with this whole thing, but that's gonna be a completely different assignment. So for this particular project, we're not going to do that. We're just going to do compressed charcoal. And if you need a clean mark, you use this guy, or a light hard edge. So basically we're done. I might go in here, as I said before, and just kind of work this a little bit so it's not so spotty and it looks resolved like the other parts do. And then see how there's a line forming there? I don't want that line. I'm just gonna kind of fade it out. So I'm just gonna work it out. And as you know now, the compressed charcoal is not easy to get off. It has wax in it, and it kind of adheres itself to the surface, which is nice. But that's how you get that look, that effect, that kind of mid-tone gray, and it looks like it's hardened into the paper. So that's by design. The last thing you're going to do once you are definitely finished this is you're going to spray it with spray adhesive. I'm going to make a separate video about that. I've had students in the past spray so close, it changes the color, puts this weird haze on it, and it ruined the drawing. You don't want to spray too far away because it's going to not land on your drawing. You do not want to spray inside. It is harmful for your lungs. You need to spray outdoors, and make sure your door is not open to your home, otherwise it will suck right back in your house. And you'll smell it for about an hour afterwards. So outside, lean your drawing up against a tree or something, and just kind of, you want to stand back about this far away from your drawing. I don't know, about 2 or 3 feet. And then you just kind of get the can and you go up and down a couple times. And because this is compressed charcoal, it adheres itself, unlike vine charcoal, to the surface of the paper better than vine charcoal. It's not as vulnerable and delicate as vine charcoal. It's on here pretty well. So you don't have to put too much of a coat on, just enough to lay on and protect it. And then in addition to that, what I ask students to do is put a piece of paper on top of it, just your regular drawing paper, tape it to the back, or just to protect it and keep it in your portfolio. Protected, even between like 2 pieces of cardboard. That way it's not going to fold or bend with your portfolio, because your portfolio is not a hard portfolio. And then that way you'll have this protected forever. And then you're good to go. So you can kind of see I'm just working this. You can get a little bit more off each time when you use this. You can kind of see the marks I made right there when you use this eraser. And I guess at this point I'm going to try not to smear. And then I can use my kneaded eraser here to help blend it into the dark background. And I think I'll just kind of go with that. This thing's falling apart, but that's fine. And then what I'll do is I'll walk away from my drawing and just take a peek and see if everything looks okay. What you don't want it to do is your eye gets stuck in one area. It just doesn't look right. Something's off. So you want to work it so it doesn't become a problem. You want this to be the focal point, not the background. All right. So I think I'm happy with that. And let me know if you have any questions.